All right, next use for our sourdough starter, pizza dough. For this you're going to need 655 grams of all-purpose flour, 45 grams of whole wheat flour, 14 grams of kosher salt. Those are our dry ingredients. Then for our wet ingredients, we're going to need 98 grams of your starter, 490 grams of water, preferably at 90 degrees Fahrenheit for optimal reaction. Okay, so first let's mix up the dry. Also going to use a KitchenAid stand mixer for this. You can do this by hand, but it can be quite vigorous and takes a lot of energy. I'm going to literally put this right on the scale. This is the bowl for my stand mixer. Okay. Into that we're going to measure our 650 grams of AP. And zero that out. And add in your salt, 14 grams, and then 45 grams of your all-purpose flour. Perfect. Set that aside. Now time to mix your wet ingredients. So for this, just grab another bowl. Make sure to zero out your scale. I'm going to go with the 490 grams of water. Pretty close. Then our 98 grams of starter. It's a little bit over, but that's okay. What you want to do is you want to incorporate that starter in water, so just mix it, maybe with a whisk or a fork, it's fine. Until you get this milky look. And we're ready to go to the mixer. Alright, time for the mixer. So let's take the dry ingredients, pop it on there. Should give a stir on that wet again. You don't want to have anything left in the bottom of that bowl, but just combine it all. Use a spatula, scrape it out. Add in your dough hook. I'll start slowly. There we go. A little power issue. Let's start slowly so you don't get flour all over the place. Gently incorporate. And then what you'll do is you'll actually increase the speed and go for about 5 minutes and whip it really hard. I'm not going to talk during that because that's annoying. You can stop it and get the flour off the edges of the bowl, push it down. Make sure that all gets incorporated into the dough. You can see all the flours come off the sides. It's fully incorporated. This is the point. This is the point where I'm actually going to turn it up high. Well, the reason why I went high like that for about a minute is for the gluten development to really to get that going. Increase the elasticity of the dough, so when we go to use it at the end, it's going to have a nice structure. I'm going to let this just go now for about another minute and a half on medium. And there you go. So next stage is bulk fermentation. Now for bulk fermentation, what we're going to do is we're going to just let this sit as it is. So you can see the consistency here. It is very wet. It is very stretchy. That's what you want. Take some of this extra dough off your dough hook. Don't waste. Get it in there. What we're going to do next is literally just cover this with some saran wrap, and we're going to let it bulk ferment for 1 hour. Once it's bulk fermented for 1 hour, we're going to come back to it, and then for the next 1.5 hours, we are going to turn it every 30 minutes before we get to our next step. All right, we've had the pizza dough resting now for 1 hour on the countertop. That's the beginning of our bulk ferment. Let's go ahead and uncover it, take a look. Now the next stage is going to be turning this 3 more times every 30 minutes for the next hour and a half. and then we'll move on to the next stage after that. So this is what a turn looks like. You want to get your hand wet with some cold water. This will just prevent the dough from sticking to your hand. And you get right in there, pull it up, stretch it, and flip it over. The dough will be quite soft. That's okay. This is actually what we're looking for on this. Trust the dough. Okay? Turn the bowl. I'll usually do 3 or 4 times. Pull and stretch. All right. We'll cover this, set a timer for an additional half hour, and come back and do that again. All right, the final step for the pizza dough. Just have some extra flour ready to put down on your bench or on your countertop. Don't use too much, just a little bit. Grab that dough out. Scoop it all off the sides. Flour on my hands, a little bit on top, don't stick too much. When I add too much flour, I don't want to ruin the structure of the dough. It is going to appear wet, that's okay. Have a bench scraper handy, help with this part, keeping me sticking. And we're going to twist it. Twist it, and roll it, kind of turn it in on itself. Create some tension on the surface so it comes together into a nice ball. No kneading. It's going to help give the dough some structure. Excellent. Don't make any more dirty dishes, just use that same bowl that you had if you can. Olive oil all around, coat around all the edges of it. On them. And take that nice ball, pop it back in there. Okay, just like so. I'll even put a little bit of olive oil on the top. Now we're going to wrap it, put it in the fridge for at least 14 hours. So I always like to leave it to the next day. And then what we'll do is we'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. I like to cover it twice. Once kind of directly on it so there's no air to create any crust on the dough. And then secondly, like so. Pizza dough is ready for the fridge, 14 hours. Okay, it's been 14 hours in the fridge. Next day here, look at our pizza dough. Cover it. Looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it out of here. We're going to work on the bench with it. Now, because you did grease the bowl, it should come out fairly easily, and generally in about one piece. Okay, so just like that, plop it right out there on the counter. You can have a little bit of flour kicking around just to kind of work with so it doesn't stick to your hands too much. But primarily the next stage is going to be to go ahead and cut this. I like to go with about 6 equal pieces. Or actually, sometimes even 7 on this recipe I find. Gives me a pretty good size pizza. Now if you want to look for the consistency on the size of the pizza, you could scale out the dough and weigh out each one individually so they're all exactly the same size. I'm just going to eye it. That's 3 there. Okay, 3 there, and then that for my 7. Okay, so next thing you want to do is get yourself a sheet pan, grease that up. The next stage is going to be room temperature proofing. So you want to take each one of these guys, knock out whatever air is in there. Okay, a little bit of flour for this. And you want to roll the dough in on itself and create these little dough balls. Okay. Now once you've rolled them in like that, you can turn them over and then just give them a little twist. Like this, going to pull towards yourself. Twist. Get a nice tight dough ball here. Stretch out surface area. Okay. Once that's like that, go ahead and pop that on your tray. And then the same thing, I'll show you one more, the rest. So, punch out the air. This one feels a tad small. I'm just going to get a little bit more dough. It's fine. Okay. Set it up there. Okay, so I finished all the dough forming. Nice little balls here on the sheet pan with a little bit of olive oil on the bottom, just to prevent it from sticking to the bottom. Now these have to sit out at a room temperature proof for a minimum of at least 4 hours. Now, I recommend after 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours, to take them and pop them back in the fridge just before you use them, because this dough is a little bit wet and it can be a little bit harder to handle when it's right at room temperature. It's really stretchy, so sometimes it's a little easier to work with if it's been chilled for about half an hour before you get into it. I also dusted the tops of these just with a little bit of flour so the tops don't stick. So what I'm going to do, we have to cover it, and the easiest way to do this is if you have a similar pan or the exact same size pan, is invert it like that on top, and then simply just push to the side and leave it on your counter. Set a timer for 4 hours. Okay, it's finally time to make pizza. Here's the dough. It's been out for 4 hours now, doing the proofing stage. I did put it in the fridge for about 20 minutes just to cool off a little bit. You will see it is quite flimsy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually build a pizza and just kind of show you how to do that. So I've got my peel ready to go. Now, when you're doing this, I like to use like a semolina flour, or this is called a semola. It's more of a finer ground. I'm going to use this so that I don't really change the composition of my pizza dough too much. It's also going to help it not stick to my peel. And what I'll actually do is cover the peel as well and get that ready for the dough. I'm just going to show you first how to get it to the peel. And then you're on your own when it comes to your toppings and what you want to make for a pizza. So I'll set that aside. Just want to show you how delicate these actually are. So I'm going to grab it. Okay. There. Now you can stretch this a bit. I find that it is so soft, really all it requires is just a little bit of patting down with your fingers, like so. Make sure it's not stuck to your board or your countertop. A little bit of a flip, stretch it a little bit more. Nice and round. Okay, so now I'm just going to transfer that to my peel. There you go. Okay, pretty much ready to go in the oven. At this point, make sure when you're building your pizza that you don't build it too far in advance. It doesn't sit here for too long, because the dough is so wet it will absorb the flour that you have on the peel, and when you go to fire it in the oven it will stick to the peel and you're going to have a mess. Okay, so the key here is don't make too many toppings and don't wait too long to get it into the oven. Okay? And then to the magic of television, there you go. Ready to topped and ready to go in the oven. You can see I try to keep the ingredients quite sparse, not overly weighted down. Make sure you don't wait too long before you get it in the oven. All right, fresh out of the pizza oven. Now, just some finishing touches. Got some toasted, smoky pecans and walnuts and pumpkin seed mixture that I made. Just flip it around a little bit. Gives a little bit of truffle oil to finish. Micro arugula. There we go. Bon appetit.